Hello there, charming darlings. Today we're going to learn about something super duper important for our very first flipped grammar lesson. So I want you to take a second and just check out this snazzy little comic here. It says, Elizabeth told Amanda that she had a problem. Right below we have the question, who had a problem? So take a second. See if you can figure it out. Guess what? You can't figure it out because this is an example of what we call, wait for it, vague pronouns. Do we like vague pronouns? No, we don't. Let's learn a little bit more about what vague pronouns are. So the first thing we need to know is what in the world does the word vague mean? And this picture can give you kind of a sense of what the word vague means. It means something that's kind of cloudy or unclear. If you look back to that comic, we have a very cloudy situation. We can't tell who we're talking about. Is it Elizabeth or is it Amanda? Both are she. We really don't know. So we do not want to have vague pronouns because we don't understand the meaning of a sentence if we can't understand what the person is referring to. So here are our goals for this flipped grammar lesson. There are two things I want you to be able to do. First thing is I want you to be able to identify vague pronouns. I want you to see them and notice them because even sometimes really talented writers make mistakes and use vague pronouns. I want you to be super sleuths, super detectives who can find vague pronouns and get rid of them, eradicate them. The other thing I want you to be able to do is to correct them. If you're not able to fix them, then we're not going to be able to do much. So I want you to be able to notice when there's a vague pronoun and then to fix it. So, quick review. You might not remember what pronouns are. So really quickly, pronouns are words that replace nouns in a sentence. So you got some examples there. Basically, anytime that I use a pronoun, I'm replacing a noun. So for example, if I said, Bobby loves ice cream, it's his favorite food. His is a pronoun because it's replacing Bobby. I could say Bobby loves ice cream, it's Bobby's favorite food, but that would get annoying really fast. Imagine if I spoke like, Javon went to Javon's house and Javon took a nap before Javon did Javon's homework. Nobody would want to talk to me. So instead, I say Javon went to his house and he took a nap and then he did his homework. I'm using he and his pronouns to replace my noun, Javon. The noun that I'm referring to is called an antecedent. So if in the sentence we were just using, if I just used Javon, Javon would be the antecedent, and the pronoun I used was he and his and him. So in these examples, we've got Billy Bob loves to go ice skating. However, he always slips and falls. Our antecedent is whoever we're referring to when we say he. In this case, Billy Bob. Then we have after mom baked chocolate chip cookies, Sam ate 3 of them. This them is our pronoun. What are we referring to when we talk about them? We're talking about the chocolate chip cookies. So an antecedent, if you think about it, the word antecedent contains a word root, ante, A-N-T-E, which means before. So the antecedent is what comes before the pronoun. And if there is no antecedent, we can be very confused. So let me give you some examples of what a vague pronoun might look like. Here's the first one. Molly hit Susan and she started crying. We have a serious problem here because I don't know who started crying. You can probably guess that it's Susan because Susan's hurt, but we don't know for sure because this is a vague pronoun. So we have two people, both of whom we would use she as your pronoun, and we don't know which one we're talking about. So how do we correct it? You might say something like this. Molly hit Susan and Susan started crying. Now you might look at this and be like, I just said Susan, why am I saying it again? Guess what? You got to say it again to make sure there's clarity for your reader. It might not feel normal at first, but it will become normal. Molly hit Susan and Susan started crying. Here's another one. Jan thumped her foot on the chair and it turned red. Here we have a problem. First of all, we got to identify our pronoun. In this case, we have Jen thumped her foot. We know her refers to Jen because there's an antecedent. But then we have the word it, and it turned red. My question is, what turned red? Is it the chair or Jen's foot? Now, again, we can use our logic and our common sense to figure out the chair probably didn't turn red, but still, it's unclear, it's vague. So we want to make it clearer. So what we do is we can reorder the sentence a little bit and we can say, Jen thumped her foot on the chair and Jan's foot turned red. Or you could even say Jan thumped her foot on the chair and her foot turned red. But you've got to make sure we know what turned red. It isn't going to cut it. Let's look at a couple more. The children watched the fireworks as they flew across the sky. Now, this one's kind of funny because if we read it incorrectly, what's flying across the sky? Not the fireworks, but the children. So we have they, and they could be the fireworks or the children. So they is the vague pronoun. Now to fix it, to make it not vague, to make it clear, clear is the opposite of vague, we would say the children watched the fireworks as the fireworks flew across the sky. Or you could even just say the children watched the fireworks soar across the sky. That way we avoid that uncertainty. Here's one more. Alex dropped the glass table on his foot and it broke. This is a tough one because really he could have broken his foot or the table, and we're really not sure. So it is the vague pronoun here. To fix it, we can say Alex dropped the glass table on his foot and the table broke. And we know that it is referring to the table and not the foot, thankfully. So one I really want you to pay special close attention to is the pronoun this. I noticed that this is an especially difficult one for students. They like to use the word this without telling you what this is. They'll say things like, this is important because, or this is the right answer because, or I agree with the author when she says this, or I like this part. Guess what? When I read that, I have one big giant question. And my question is this: what is this? What is this? And you'll see if you do this and you're writing, I'm going to write, what is this? When you use the word this, what are you talking about? Always repeat it, even if it feels weird, if you're not sure it's clear. What is important? What is the right answer? What does the author say? What part do you like? This is something that I notice especially common when you're talking about books you're reading and you say, this is important because, and you're talking about a quote in the book or something you read that you liked. Make sure you tell me what you're talking about. You might say something like, instead of this is important, you could say, the relationship between Mom and Joe is important because, or the quote spoken by Father Stephen in the chapter, in the fourth chapter, is important because, or the events leading up to the fire are important because. But don't just say this is, because what in the world is this? I just don't know. So guys, there you have it. Those are vague pronouns. Make sure you understand what this means, and we're going to practice it tomorrow. Watch this video as many times as you like. I know it's fascinating, and I will see you soon so we can practice in class.